So GSP, who I would consider to be the greatest welterweight fighter to ever do it, came out recently and said something in an interview with Ariel Helwani, something that is quite interesting, but I really wouldn't say it's something brand new. Like, I'm pretty sure we've heard him say something very similar in the past. I believe the line of questioning was, are you getting the itch to come back to fighting? Are we going to see you again? The question was along those lines. And GSP basically said, when he's training, sometimes while he's at home watching these fights on TV, he can tell that these are fighters that he can definitely beat. Deep down inside, he looks at these guys and he tells himself, you know what? I could beat these guys if I actually fought again. But then whenever he gets that itch, something in the back of his mind also tells him, oh, what are you thinking? You don't enjoy this. You don't enjoy this. And that's where GSP essentially said that he didn't enjoy a single second of fighting inside of the octagon. Now, the important thing here is that GSP made sure to make it, he made it very clear that he meant inside of the octagon. And I feel like a lot of people heard that and it was met with a lot of confusion. I feel like a lot of people didn't understand what GSP was saying. And a lot of people could not believe that a man as good as he is at fighting did not enjoy even a second of it. But I feel like if we sat down a vast majority of fighters and examined their mind and actually asked them this question and we broke it down to its raw form, I feel like a lot of fighters will give a very similar answer. Because, let's be honest here. What exactly is prize fighting? Like, prize fighting in its rawest form, if we were to break it down, it's essentially you step into a cage with another man who did not do anything to you, and you have to get into a mindset of doing something extremely malicious to them. You have to try to knock them out, stomp them, submit them, do them extreme harm. And this is someone who did not do anything to you at all. Now, of course, we have situations where fighters have, rivalries. A fighter has said something that is extremely deeply offensive. Maybe they insulted your family, they insulted you personally, they insulted your religion. They just did something that makes you really want to go get them, We have situations like that. John Jones versus DC comes to mind. Conor McGregor versus Khabib comes to mind. Those were very personal, Masvidal versus Ben Askren. Very personal fights. But then you have other fights where it's like they're even friends. You take example, Lyoto Machida versus Mark Munoz. These were friends, teammates, stepping in there, and you have to switch your mentality. Donald Cowboy Cerrone versus Benson Henderson. Two guys that were good friends stepping in there, fighting each other, and you have to amend the way that you think about this person. You stop thinking about them as a friend in that very moment that you start fighting them, and you have to hit them. You have to hit them as hard as you possibly can hit them. And if you were to hit them and they start bleeding, you have to keep hitting them. You can't allow yourself to feel sorry for them. You can't allow yourself to feel love and empathy for them as you're punching them and pummeling them. If you hit them and they fall to the ground, you got to keep hitting them and ground and pounding until the referee jumps in to stop the fight. You got to go to an extremely dark place to be able to do that to someone who didn't do anything at all to you. Someone who has not put your life in danger. Someone who hasn't put the life of your family members in danger. And to say that you can do that and enjoy it and find joy in that, at the very least, there's a little bit something wrong with you in the head for you to be able to say that you can do something like that and find enjoyment in the art of actually fighting. Like if I think about it myself, I feel like there's certain parts of it that I would enjoy. I feel like I would enjoy the lead up to the fight. I would enjoy the part where we're training for the fight. I would enjoy the part where we're studying the opponent, learning what makes the opponent good, what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, game planning for the fight. That learning process, the part where you also learn brand new skills and you add to your arsenal and you add more weapons to your wheelhouse. I feel like that whole entire process is going to be really, really fun because there is no malice right there. You're just kind of improving. You're improving yourself and you're acquiring knowledge. That's very interesting. I don't feel like I would enjoy the media process, the part where you have to stand in front of a microphone in front of a bunch of people being asked the same questions over and over again. I don't think that would be fun for me personally. I most definitely would not enjoy the part about getting tested. I would not enjoy that, having them show up at your house at all different times of the day when you're not expecting them, just randomly showing up to your house, knocking on your door, and you have to get tested at that very moment. I would not enjoy that process one bit. I most definitely would not enjoy the process of weight cutting. If I had to weight cut, I mean, it's a miserable experience. It looks like a miserable experience. Has to be a miserable experience. It would not be something I would want to go through. And I most definitely also would not enjoy the part where I have to step into the cage and then switch my whole entire mentality around and go do damage to a fighter, to someone, to another man who has done nothing to me. You know? I mean, let's forget the part where we're actually doing damage. Let's be selfish for a little bit. What about the part where you're getting punched in the face? Right? Like if someone tells you that they actually enjoy getting hit, like if you hit them in the face, rather than feeling pain, they feel joy. It's like, ooh, do it again. That felt incredible. Do it one more time. You look at them like they're absolutely insane. Like there's something wrong with you because it's not normal. The normal reaction a human being has when they get hit, it's a negative reaction because we're not designed to get hit. That's not what the human body was designed for. We have these pain receptors in there that gives you an unpleasurable experience when you get punched, when you get hit. So for you to find joy in that, in something that inherently in of itself is painful, it's a painful experience, there's something wrong with you. It just makes no sense. So I feel like if we were to sit down a vast majority of these fighters and we were to actually ask them, do you enjoy fighting? I'm not talking about the whole entire package, because GSP did say that there are things about fighting that he enjoys, namely what fighting affords him. You know, being able to fight gave him wealth. It gave him freedom. You know, he has money. He doesn't have to work another day in his life. Fighting gave him that. Of course, fighting also gave him respect. He's got the respect of the MMA community, the respect of the fans. Fighting gave him recognition, status, which is a very good thing for a man to have, you know. But when it comes to the actual art of fighting, when you're actually fighting in the octagon, I can't imagine any fighter, unless there's something wrong with you, genuinely enjoys that. Maybe if you're Diego Sanchez. Maybe if you're Diego Sanchez or John Jones. I don't know. But even these guys, I can't imagine it's fun. Because, I mean, if it wasn't fun, then, why do these guys spend such a long time trying to hone their defense and not allow themselves to get hit? Of course, there's the aspect of, if you get hit too many times, you could get knocked out and lose the fight. But nobody enjoys getting hit. I can't imagine anybody enjoys getting hit. It's not a pleasurable experience. So hearing GSP say that, it didn't really surprise me one bit. I mean, we've seen GSP come out and be extremely honest about how he feels about fighting. He has said that he has been terrified of it. He's terrified of fighting. We've also heard someone like Donald Cerrone say something along the same lines. Before the fight, lead up to the fight, he's so nervous. He has to puke. The nerves are just crazy. And that's understandable. It's very believable. It doesn't make me look down on these fighters. It doesn't make them not as impressive as they are because they express these negative feelings about actually fighting another man. I feel like it's just natural. So when George said that, it just got me thinking. It got me thinking and made me want to get on camera and talk to you guys about this and kind of see where your head is at. Like, what do you think about that statement when fighters come out and say that they don't enjoy fighting? Is this something you want to hear from your martial artists, from your MMA fighters? Because a lot of times we kind of look at these fighters as superhuman because they're actually doing things that a lot of people can't do. They're going in there, they're putting their life on the line, and they're trying to entertain us. It's something that a vast majority of us cannot do. And so a lot of times we almost forget that they're human beings as well. They feel fear, they have apprehension, they get nervous, they get anxious, they get worried. So when they express that, it almost humanizes them a little bit. And I'm kind of curious if you like that in your fighters. Do you like seeing fighters who allow themselves to be vulnerable in that aspect and tell you the truth that I don't enjoy this thing? If I remember correctly, I believe Nate Diaz also says something along those lines, which is just shocking because Nate Diaz has an incredible amount of chin. He takes damage like no other. He just loves. I mean, his fight style is, he's a striker. He wants to stand in front of you and brawl with you. And for a man like that to tell you that this is painful, man, I believe it was Nick Diaz that said that. This is not fun. This is painful. To hear fighters say that, personally, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that because it gives us a different perspective on how these fighters think. But that's essentially it. Just wanted to come out here and talk to you guys about that in a little bit, and also see what you guys think about the whole situation. Do you think that GSP was being hyperbolic when he said that? That's the question I have for you. Do you think GSP was being hyperbolic when he said that? Do you think he was exaggerating? Or do you think he actually meant it when he said he did not enjoy a single second he spent inside of the octagon fighting another man? Let me know in the comment section.